Welcome back to the True Detectives podcast, everyone. I'm Adrian Smith, your host, and I love a good mystery. You know what I mean? Who doesn't? I mean, come on, who doesn't, right?
Yes.
We all love to try and unravel those cases that just leave you guessing. And that's exactly what we're doing here today.
That's right. We're taking you on a journey into the heart of some truly wild detective stories, from history to, well, maybe even a little bit of fiction.
But that's the fun of it, right? Separating fact from fiction. That's what makes it so interesting.
Absolutely. And I'm Dr. Julia Jones. I'm so glad to be back with you to dive into these incredible cases.
I am so excited to have you back, Julia. You always bring so much to the table with your expertise.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Really?
So let's get right into it, folks. Our first case takes us back in time to the heart of the Cold War, to Berlin in the 1980s.
Yeah, a city divided a time of tension and secrets. A perfect setting for a mystery.
Couldn't agree more. And the story we're looking at today, called Ghost Across the Wall. It starts with a discovery that sends chills down your spine. Imagine a body found draped across the Berlin Wall.
Talk about a powerful image right away. You know, you're dealing with something heavy.
Absolutely. It sets the tone perfectly. And navigating this tense landscape is our main man, Detective Erich Becker, a seasoned detective from East Berlin.
And he's not just dealing with a murder, he's got the Stasi breathing down his neck. That's East Germany's secret police.
Oh, man. Yeah. The Stasi, notorious for their surveillance and control, it's got to make solving a crime a whole lot trickier.
You can say that again. Every move Eric makes is probably being watched, analyzed,
Yeah.
you know? And to make matters even more complicated, there's a ring found on the victim.
Ah, the ring. Classic clue.
Right. But this ring isn't just any old piece of jewelry. It's connected to a family that seems to have been erased from history by the Stasi.
Whoa, hold on. So we're talking a potential cover-up here. Some deep, dark secret that someone's trying to bring to light.
It definitely raises the stakes,
Yeah.
and it puts Eric in a very tough spot.
I bet torn between his duty to the East German regime and his own sense of justice.
Exactly. It's a classic noir dilemma, but amplified by the Cold War setting.
Now let's shift gears for a minute. We've got the grim reality of East Berlin. But then you cross that wall and you're in West Berlin,
Totally different world,
a
right?
world of neon lights and smoky jazz clubs. But still with that undercurrent of fear. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. The Cold War was a global conflict. It affected everything and everyone.
And Eric, he's a fish out of water in West Berlin. He's drawing attention he doesn't want from the West German police and even the CIA.
It's like he's caught between two worlds, both suspicious of him, both with their own agendas.
Exactly. And as he digs deeper into the case, he uncovers whispers of stolen Stasi documents, shady characters operating in the shadows.
It's starting to sound like this murder is connected to something much bigger.
Oh yeah, this is way more than just a simple border crossing. This is about something dark and powerful, something the Stasi wants to keep hidden.
And you have to remember, the Stasi had their fingers in everything. Their secrets were valuable to both sides.
Which makes them incredibly dangerous.
Precisely. They're a force to be reckoned with.
And the plot thickens even more when Eric stumbles into an antique shop. He meets a woman who recognizes the victim's ring and drops a bombshell. The victim wasn't just some random smuggler. He was actually the heir to a prominent East German family.
A family that was seemingly wiped out by the Stasi.
Man, talk about a twist. It's like something out of a spy thriller. And suddenly we're not just dealing with a smuggling operation.
Yeah, it's about revenge. Someone's trying to right a historical wrong.
The stakes just got a whole lot higher.
No kidding. This is personal now.
Absolutely. And where does this all lead? Where did all the clues point?
To a ruined church, a place that's seen its fair share of history.
A fitting setting for a showdown.
Indeed. It's in that ruined church that Eric finally comes face to face with the killer.
This is it. The moment of truth. The climax of our story.
And the killer's motive. It's as powerful as it is heartbreaking revenge against the Stasi and all those who benefited from their brutal regime.
A desire to settle old scores to expose the truth.
But just when Eric thinks he's close to getting some answers, tragedy strikes.
What do you mean? What happens?
The Stasi, they intervene. They shoot the killer, silencing him forever, ensuring that their secrets remain buried.
Oh, man. Talk about a gut punch. It's a reminder that the Stasi, they were willing to do whatever it took to protect themselves.
Even if it meant sacrificing justice.
So the case might be closed, the killer's dead, but the truth remains hidden, lost in the shadows of the Cold War.
And it makes you wonder how many other truths are still out there, buried under layers of secrecy and deception.
It's a chilling thought. And makes you appreciate those like Eric who are willing to risk everything to uncover the truth.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of history,
Yeah.
the ones who fight for justice even when it seems impossible.
It's a powerful message. And it's something we should all keep in mind as we navigate our own complex world where information is often manipulated and the truth can be hard to find.
We have to be vigilant to question what we're told and be willing to dig deeper to uncover the truth.
Well said, Julia. Well said.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are still lurking out there, just waiting to be uncovered.
You know what? That's a perfect segue into our next case. Like we're jumping from the shadowy world of the Cold War into, well, let's just say a world with a little more bite.
Bite, huh? Okay. I think I know where we're going with this.
That's right. We're talking zombies, folks. But not just any zombie story. This one's got a twist. It's a blend of classic film noir and all-out zombie horror.
Oh, I like where this is going. It's like the Maltese Falcon meets Night of the Living Dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine those gritty detectives, those shadowy streets, the femme fatales, but with a horde of zombies thrown into the mix.
It's such a unique combination. Those two genres, you wouldn't think they'd work together, but somehow they do.
Oh, they absolutely do. It's like they were made for each other. And just like our Berlin case, this story is built on a conspiracy. But instead of Cold War espionage, we're dealing with something that could quite literally end the world.
Talk about raising the stakes. I mean, trying to solve a crime is hard enough, but in a zombie apocalypse, that's a whole new level of challenge.
Right. Like, how do you even gather evidence when there are flesh-eating monsters roaming the streets?
And who are you interviewing for witnesses? Other survivors? I mean, it's just chaos.
Total chaos. But that's what makes it so fascinating, right? It's like taking everything we know about detective stories and turning it on its head.
And it forces you to think about those classic noir themes in a whole new light. Like, what happens to our sense of morality when survival is on the line?
Does revenge even matter when you're fighting for your life?
Exactly. It's like all bets are off. And yet, our detective in this story, he's still driven to find the truth. He wants to know what caused this outbreak and maybe even find a way to stop it.
It's even in the face of pure horror, that human desire for knowledge, for understanding, it doesn't go away.
It's that relentless pursuit of truth that makes these stories so compelling. No matter the setting, no matter the odds, these detectives, they just keep digging.
You know what's interesting? Both of these cases, while being totally different on the surface, they share a common thread. This idea that the truth, it often comes at a cost.
That's a great point. In Ghost Across the Wall, Eric is risking his career, his life, to uncover the truth about the murdered heir.
He's going up against the Stasi, one of the most powerful and ruthless organizations in history.
And in the zombie story, the detective, he's facing a different kind of cost, the potential loss of his humanity.
In a world gone mad, it's easy to lose sight of what makes us human, what separates us from the monsters.
And that's the real dilemma, isn't it? How far are we willing to go for the truth? What are we willing to sacrifice?
It's a question that's haunted humanity for centuries. And it's something that these stories really force us to confront.
They make us think about our own values, our own beliefs, and what we would do in those extreme situations.
Speaking of extreme situations, let's circle back to Ghost Across the Wall for a minute. We left Eric in that ruined church facing off against the killer. The tension is palpable.
You can practically feel the weight of history bearing down on them. And of course, the ever-present threat of the Stasi. They're lurking in the shadows, waiting to make their move.
It's a powder keg waiting to explode. And I have a feeling things are about to get very messy. So picture this. We've got Eric in this bombed-out church, right, facing down a killer who's out for revenge. And then you've got the Stasi. They're always lurking just out of sight.
Talk about a pressure cooker. It's like every move Eric makes could set off an explosion.
He's trying to reason with the killer, to appeal to some kind of humanity.
Right.
But at the same time, he knows the Stasi, they're not going to hesitate to use force.
It's the terrible dilemma. And then just when it seems like maybe Eric might get through to the killer, you hear a gunshot.
Oh, man, I knew it. Someone had to break the tension. But who fired the shot? Was it Eric?
It wasn't Eric. The Stasi, they intervened. They took the killer out, silencing him forever, and at the same time sending a message to Eric.
A message like, back off. It's our business.
Exactly. They were willing to kill to protect their secrets and to make sure nobody else got too close to the truth.
So much for justice, right? The killer's dead, the Stasi get away with it, and Eric, he's left with nothing but a whole lot of unanswered questions.
It's a classic noir ending. You know, the kind that leaves you feeling a little bit empty and a little bit cynical?
Like no matter how hard you fight, sometimes the bad guys win.
And the system just keeps on rolling, right, over anyone who gets in its way.
It's a tough pill to swallow. But you know, it It's something we see in both of these cases. This idea that even in the face of unimaginable chaos, even when the world seems to be falling apart, there are still forces at work trying to control the narrative.
To keep the truth hidden. To manipulate people for their own gain.
It's like a universal constant, isn't it? No matter what the setting, no matter the stakes, there's always someone pulling the strings.
And it makes you realize how important it is to be aware, to be critical, to question what we're told.
To not just accept things at face value, to dig deeper, to search for the truth, even when it's hidden in the shadows.
Because the truth, it's out there. It might be buried under layers of lies and deception, but it's there, and it's worth fighting for.
Well said, Julia. Well said. And on that note, folks, we've reached the end of another thrilling episode of the True Detectives podcast.
It's been a wild ride, hasn't it?
It has indeed. From the Cold War streets of Berlin to the zombie-infested back alleys, we've seen it all. And through it all, we've learned that the truth, it's a precious thing. It's something we have to constantly fight for and protect.
And sometimes it's something that comes at a very high price.
That's right. But it's a price worth paying. Because without the truth, we're lost. So keep asking those tough questions. Keep digging. Keep searching for those hidden truths.
And never give up hope. That's the most important thing.
Couldn't have said it better. Myself, Julia. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of mystery and intrigue.
It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure's all ours, Julia.
Yeah.
And remember, folks, if you love a good detective story, if you're fascinated by the pursuit of truth, if you just can't get enough of those twisted tales that keep you guessing, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, rate us 5 stars, and tell all your friends about the True Detectives podcast. We'll be back next time with another batch of captivating cases. And until then, stay curious, my friends. And always remember, the truth is out there.